My name is Ed Knizhnik, most of you know that. I'll be a Russian Jew for this evening, which incidentally is the best type of Jew, so tell your friends, knowledge is power. It's actually really interesting growing up in a Russian Jewish household, mostly because you've got that weird combination of parenting styles. You've got the standard sort of Jewish neuroticism combined with like the coolest attitudes towards alcohol ever in the Russian family. Like my dad sat me down when I was 13 and was like, "Son, if you're gonna drink, drink. But if your grades drop, I will fucking kill you." And you know, I really just can't wait to have that conversation with my son, you know, just sit him down and be like, "Son, Daddy loves you. But the only correct form of alcoholism is functional alcoholism." Nobody likes a drunk with no talent. That's why everyone thinks that Charlie Sheen is hilarious, but thinks that Lindsay Lohan is a drunken whore. So my girlfriend, who is actually here tonight, she's nostalgic for times that she never lived in, which I find a little bit peculiar. We recently watched Midnight in Paris, and she's in love with that movie, and she will say things like, "You know, times are so complicated right now, like, wouldn't it be just great if we could like live in a simpler time, like the early 1900s? Like, wouldn't that be great? Like, you know what I think is great? Not dying of polio or tuberculosis, you know, and having access to modern medicine and maybe some internet porn, like that's what the doctor orders as far as I'm concerned." But you know, we have a very democratic relationship, so we put it to a vote. We decided to vote on if we were to develop time-traveling technology, would we relocate to the early 1900s? So she voted yes, and I voted no, and then I nullified her vote because women weren't allowed to vote in the early 1900s. So that worked out really well for me. I tend to win most time-traveling disputes in our relationship, actually. It's kind of a fun thing to have there. Since you know, getting into a relationship, I spent a lot of time thinking about relationships, and for me, like, the big question still has to be like how Romeo and Juliet have become like our pop cultural go-to for like a successful romantic relationship. Because like people will say ridiculous things like, "I'm just looking for the Romeo to my Juliet," which is sweet, you know, because I too am looking for a relationship that starts off with murderous familial blood feud and then ends when a tragic miscommunication leads to a horrific double suicide. Or maybe I'm just old-fashioned that way, I'm not entirely certain. Like the last line of that story literally reads, "For never has there been a story of more woe than this of Juliet and her Romeo." And there's someone at home reading that to themselves and thinking, this is the stuff that dreams are made of. This is all that I could get out of life and more. This is what I want. This is what I want right now. Like, you just can't compare your relationship to a tragedy and then like conveniently ignore the tragic part. Like, I don't talk about my relationship and say things like, "You know, you guys, Titanic sure was a luxurious ship. I wish my relationship was as sturdy and well-built as Titanic. Nothing but smooth sailing for me and my sweetie on the seas of love on the deck of the motherfucking Titanic." I've also been trying to get healthy this year because we got some weight to lose here. But I really wish the gym would just stop trying to like trick me into taking its classes by making them sound like exotic menu items. Like, that's a serious concern of mine. Like, I have a roommate and he'll come in and he's, you know, wants to get healthy too, and he's just like, "Dude, we gotta try some of these classes. They've got all these awesome ones. They've got Pilates and yoga lattes and like ab crunch. Like, what do you think, man?" I don't know what the fuck you just said, but it sounds delicious. I will take a baker's dozen of the yoga lattes. That's what I'm about. And then restaurants will do the exact opposite, where they'll take like really unhealthy things on the menu and just give them that healthy sounding name to like make you feel like less of a fat ass when you order them. You'll just be like reading that menu description, just be like, "This item appears to be nothing more than a pound of bacon swimming in a pool of ranch dressing with some spinach sprinkled on top of it, but it's called the treadmill salad, so I guess that should be okay for Weight Watchers." I actually think that Starbucks is really guilty of ridiculous menu item naming more than most places. I had a weird experience there the other week. I went in there and I walked up to the barista and I was like, "Hey, can I get a tall cup of coffee and a Rice Krispie treat?" And And she looked at me like I was totally out of my mind, like as if I had just like whipped it out, like slammed it on the counter and tried to pay for my coffee with peanuts, you know? Like she was bewildered, and then finally it came to a little bit. I was just like, oh, I'm sorry, sir, are you perhaps referring to our Marshmallow Dream Bar? No, I most certainly am not referring to a Marshmallow Dream Bar. I'm talking about a Rice Krispie treat. Like a Marshmallow Dream Bar sounds like something like a hippie at Monterey came up with, and we're just like, you know what would make a Rice Krispie treat better? Shrooms. Definitely shrooms. Should totally try the Marshmallow Dream Bar, man. We can make you snap, crackle, and pop. Like, alright, Starbucks, like, you can call your products whatever the fuck you want to call your products, I don't care. Like, you just need to understand what I'm talking about when I order them in your restaurant. Like, you can come up with a crazy new breakfast item and call them Tasty Jew Circles. But, like, I feel like I'm well within my right to call that a bagel. I think that's only fair. I recently got some gift cards for my birthday, which, like, sounds nice, but I hate gift cards. I really do. Just because, like, when you get someone a gift card, it's pretty much like telling that person, it's like, well, I thought about where I wanted to buy you a present. That's about as far as I was willing to think things through. That's all I had in me. It's like, oh, well, gee, thanks. Thanks for doing all that heavy lifting. I really appreciate that. Because you could have just given me cash, and I can spend cash on things like rent, or groceries, or, like, I don't know, like a ransom note, you know? Pretty sure that ransom note isn't going to read, if you ever want to see your brother or sister alive again, please leave $5,000 in unmarked bills behind the dumpster in the alleyway. Pottery Barn gift certificates are also acceptable. It's like, I'm not even talking about the places that, like, have no business selling gift cards, you know, like Subway sells gift cards, because nothing says I love you like a fucking hoagie, you know? Chipotle sells gift cards too, for that clever man who realizes that sending actual diarrhea by mail would be a federal offense. My favorite, though, is Burger King, because, you know, for when you really just want to tell someone, I hope you die of a massive fucking heart attack, but, like, want to deliver that message in the form of a really thoughtful present. Kill them with kindness, I always say. That's just how that works. Let's see. I was mugged recently, as actually many people in this audience know, which was a really interesting experience. Mostly because it makes you appreciate the little things in life, you know, like laughter and friendship and the fact that I didn't spontaneously shit myself and someone put a gun in my face. Like, that's really important to learn, you know? But, like, what you really learn when you go through an experience like that is more about other people and how they react to when you tell them about that. Because most people are normal. Most people will be like, oh man, I'm sorry to hear that happened to you. And some people will ask the most ridiculous follow-up questions, which will be like, did they take everything? Yes, they took everything. But, like, even your credit cards, didn't they know that you were just going to cancel your credit cards, man? It's a fucking mugging, not a negotiation. Like, I'm sorry that I did not have the wherewithal to just give them convenient tips on how to mug me more efficiently. I'm sorry, I'll think about that next time. Like, the worst, by far, was someone posted it on Facebook and was like, man, I'm really sorry to hear what happened, but at least you weren't in Mexico, where you would have been mugged, then kidnapped, then decapitated, then burnt, then left by the side of the road. Who the fuck taught you how to sympathize? Like, that comment literally should have just ended after the, I'm sorry to hear what happened to you, you know? Like, we don't need to play a crazy game of, like, how my life could possibly have gotten worse after that fucking moment, you know? Hate to invite this guy to a funeral and be terrible. Just approach, like, the bereaved widow and be like, I'm really sorry to hear about what happened to your husband, but at least he didn't live in the future where he would have been kidnapped and eaten by giant space pterodactyls who raped him. That's... Alright, we'll move on from giant space pterodactyls. A lot of people debate the difference between art and pornography. I think that's like a hot button topic that still hasn't been resolved. And I think I've come up with a solid definition for this. And it's that art is something that you don't lose interest in after you finish masturbating. I think that's what I want to draw that line. The problem with this whole hypothesis is that, like, every time that I want to put this through, like, a rigorous scientific analysis, like, they throw me right out of the art museum before I can finish. It's really pretty upsetting, to be perfectly honest. Sir, are you masturbating to Picasso? It's not what it looks like! Right, it's exactly what it looks like. I just needed to see if I really loved Picasso, or if I was just infatuated with him, you know? Like maybe square boobs have been doing it for me all along. I really just needed to see what was going on here. I think another thing that is debated pretty frequently is whether video games cause people to be violent, whether video games teach you to be violent. I've always thought that was bullshit, you know? Like, because video games never taught me anything, to be perfectly honest. Like, the one thing that maybe video games taught me was that apparently my mother has had sex with everyone on Xbox Live. That's the one thing, which was really disconcerting, to be perfectly honest, to know that your mother is a tremendous slut, but only for people who play Call of Duty, so that's really upsetting. There is one video game that I do think that could potentially cause violence in people. I recently started playing it. It's honestly one of the most deeply just disturbing and dark games that I've ever played. I feel like my head is still spinning after playing it, and I feel like some of you guys might have played it. It's Angry Birds. Because Angry Birds teaches you that if someone takes something from you, let's say eggs, it's a perfectly acceptable response to suicide bomb the living shit out of them until they give back what they've taken. Like, that's some serious terrorist shit right there, you know? Like, I'm gonna get some anger management birds up in this bitch before this becomes a matter of national security. Like, that's all I'm saying, you know? Angry birds or Al-Qaeda birds, you decide. That's my Fox News impression. I'm gonna move on from that really quickly right now. Oh, God. Let's see. I think it's interesting that there are certain things that are too taboo to joke about in public, unless you tweak them just like a little bit. Like, for example, most people would not laugh at a rape joke. It's just not kosher. You just don't do that in public. It's not approved. But like, if you take that rape joke and you make that into a prison rape joke, whoo! You just drop this open to some comedy gold, my friends. You see, it's funny. Because when he drops the soap, another man penetrates him against his will. It's really quite hilarious, actually. Like, I didn't realize that being convicted by a jury of your peers was like the quickest way to make forcible sodomy go from absolutely deplorable to fucking hysterical. So just a review. Being stabbed in prison, being raped in prison, funny. Being stabbed in prison, not funny. Being stabbed by someone's penis in prison, funny again because it's rape. Alright, so we're done with the rape jokes. I think we've reached our quota, at least for my set. I can't vouch for the other comedians at all. So I was going to close this set. I'm going to leave you on this one. I was going to close this set with a joke, but I literally feel like 90% of you have heard this joke, which is unfortunate. So we're going to change gears here. I've been fascinated by the concept of mega churches recently. Love the idea. For those who are not in the know, there are these giant stadiums that have been converted into houses of worship. So like they take like a basketball stadium and they'll make it into a church, which I think is fantastic because nothing says like a holy house of worship like a place where you used to get drunk and go watch monster trucks. I think that's really special. Although, you know, on the one hand, they both probably do take place on Sunday. So they do have that going for it. Like, really, I just love the idea of mega churches because in my head, like, they have to come with mega Jesus, right? Like, that's got to be there. And in my head, like, mega Jesus is like 30 feet tall and a giant robot, you know, leaves tall sinners in a single bound. It's pretty fantastic. I'll occasionally tell that joke and people get upset with me because I'm Jewish. And people don't like it when Jews joke about Jesus. And they'll usually go with the same, like, you know, Jews killed Jesus. That's my savior you're talking about. It's like, first of all, no, we didn't. We did not kill Jesus. Like, the Pope forgave us and everything, and they're still, like, coming around on condom use. So, like, I think we're in the clear on that one. But, like, beyond that, you know, like, since that point, the Jews have given you, like, Albert Einstein, Natalie Portman, and the fucking pizza bagel, okay? Like, that's a genius, a hottie, and a snack food. Like, I don't know what more my people have left to give as reparations, but, like, I feel like we can call it even, you know? Like, beyond that, though, like, I always thought that, like, Christianity was based on the concept of the resurrection, you know? Like, Jesus had to die so that he could just rise from the dead, that whole thing. So, when you think about it, didn't someone just have to take one for the team and kill Jesus? You know, like wouldn't it have been a lot less impressive if he had just died of old age? Probably just chalk that up to human error, you know?